thank you to everyone who's here. Hopefully we'll gain a little bit more understanding today on our topic, which is the Law of AMRA. So I think many of us have experienced, as Rosicrucians, we hear of a principle, practice something, or a law, such as a Law of AMRA, and we think we've got it. And you know, this is an initial feeling, an initial understanding, only to recognize that there are more layers to the principle than we had originally thought. Some of us perhaps have had this experience with the Law of AMRA. You know, we hear the explanation, as you give, so shall you receive, and that sounds exceedingly simple. Thoughts of tithing maybe come to mind. Maybe generally we relate this law to giving away material things and to a certain degree receiving material blessings as a result. We may at the time recognize that there is a spiritual aspect behind this law, though oftentimes our contemplation ends there. So to better understand this law and the spiritual as well as material benefits it may bring into our lives, let us look at the structure of our AMWORK monographs and thus the system of learning that gives us. We know that the guidance of our teachings is to lead us to an understanding of the God of our hearts and to assist us in achieving mastery of life individually and then collectively, of course. So how do our monographs lay this path for us? If we take the first 3 degrees, we begin with a study of matter, then we move into a study of consciousness, and then combining those two into a study of the laws of life as we know it as a human being. Why would it be in this order? Matter, consciousness, and life. Perhaps matter comes first as the building of a home to house consciousness. We learn that matter itself is spiritual in its essence, for it is comprised of that energy called spirit in our monographs that makes everything we are aware and unaware of in the material world vibrate. We could say that it makes matter conscious, maybe in a different way than we are conscious, but with all the elements of consciousness. We see matter react to surroundings, attempt to protect itself from harm, recover and rebuild from calamity, and so forth. We see this activity in all 4 kingdoms of life as we know it: mineral, plant, animal, and human. From the first degree, we recognize that matter is spiritual and thus conscious and reactive somehow. And further, this material form of consciousness comprises the home for our evolving consciousness. We have heard from our monographs that we live in cosmic consciousness, but are often unaware of it. More often unaware of it. Well, this cosmic consciousness surrounds and oversees us within this realm of the material world in which we exist as human beings. The second degree looks at consciousness as it manifests within us, both visible and recognizable objective and subjective forms of consciousness, as well as the invisible subconscious. When we talk about visible and invisible consciousness, it's a little awkward, actually, as all forms of consciousness are invisible in a certain sense. We see manifestations of consciousness, we recognize it within ourselves, we know we exist within it and with it, but it is not something we can directly touch, see, taste, or feel. Of course, these senses could not exist without consciousness. So with just a little thought and contemplation, we recognize how we are dual in nature and intertwined with all that exists. Intertwined with an overriding consciousness, if you will. So our consciousness coexists with the consciousness of everything else that moves, evolves, and changes in the universe. Amazingly, we have, and we recognize that we have, planes of consciousness that seem to operate invisibly beyond our mortal thoughts. There is obviously a consciousness that operates above and beyond our mortal thoughts because our autonomic nervous system keeps us alive and operates in rhythm with that consciousness that keeps all of nature alive and animated. All of this happens without our mortal thoughts getting in the way. Thus, through the second degree, we recognize how matter is linked to us through consciousness. We then advance into a study of life as it exists in us as human beings. A combination of a material body and a vital life force that animates us and allows our conscious existence in the human kingdom. We get to see our own lives and the lives of others evolve. And though we are blind to the fact that the vital life force functions everywhere and in everything, our mystical work in the third degree helps us to understand that this vital life force forms the basis for all evolution, for that vehicle that we are to advance and move and grow into a realization of cosmic consciousness. We also know that the vital life force enters the body at the first breath and leaves the body with the final breath. While animating us through our lifetime, it is with us with every step, every thought, every action that we take. This is important to the evolution of consciousness. To quote from our monographs, although transition induces the body's decomposition, this decomposition does not extend to the destruction of the subatomic particles constituting it. In effect, these progressively reintegrate into spirit essence with all the experience they have acquired in forming a human body. End of quote. In other words, that which you do in life, the experiences that you have had, remain here in the human realm at the quantum level and become a part of the evolutionary process of humanity and the universe in which we are conscious. So our monographs continue from this point around the triangle again and again, illuminating the laws that govern matter, consciousness, and life, allowing us to open our minds to a great creative force behind all things. The law of AMRA is one of those laws. So we went through all of this so that we might recognize that the law of AMRA functions on many levels. And though our first thoughts may tend to think of it in terms of the giving and receiving of money, which it can be useful for, we can see that it is a law existing everywhere, even within nature. We can see that it is vibrant and alive within and around us. It is conscious through us, and we can recognize it and advance it within our world and into the world of humanity. It is always with us and always at work within the plane of consciousness in which we exist. Becoming aware of this law and entering a rhythm with it will bring blessings to the soul and advance our understanding of who and what we are. We will therefore examine how AMRA functions in our world, how we are associated with it, and ultimately how utilizing it may bring blessings above and beyond what we may have at first imagined. Nature is always speaking to us in her language. Our beautiful works of art and architecture are also a part of nature, as you can see from this picture of the Golden Pavilion House in Kyoto, Japan. My wife actually took this picture years ago when we had the privilege of traveling to Japan. It was a business trip, but it was very enjoyable. We got to ride the bullet train, which was a lifelong dream. And the scenery there was unbelievable. This is a memory that will live with us forever. And nature spoke to us on this trip. And this particular scene really spoke to us. So we're using it here. Through her language, excuse me, nature is giving to us, but only if we are open to receive its blessings in our consciousness. In other words, to simply recognize her and thank her for presenting the Creator's beauty to us. She shows us splendor in life in its many and varied forms. It is up to our will to receive it in our hearts, what she presents to us, to stop, see, and take in what she says to our being. Opening our hearts, mind, and soul to recognize nature is a gift to nature and a gift to ourselves. It is an act of consciously giving and receiving our shared moment in life. Stop and give thanks to this language. Strive to become more conscious of the vital life force and spirit essence speaking to your soul while you are alive. And you will soon recognize that you are linked to nature. The law of AMRA is here at work in this scene and in your observation and reaction to this scene. Relax now and take a few deep breaths and hold this picture in your mind or continue to see it on the screen. Enjoy it. Keep it in your mind's eye and contemplate how AMRA is functioning through this interaction. So we have focused up to this point on the transcendent qualities of the law of AMRA. We did this because while we are incarnate, our mortal minds tend naturally to attach to material definitions of things. Knowing that the law of AMRA functions at higher levels and is a form of cosmic inspiration takes a focused will and an inner ear. Of course, we are incarnate at this moment. And of course, the law of AMRA functions with us in the here and now, and very importantly, in the material world. Let us examine how this law works on the various planes of which we are aware. As you give, so shall you receive. And this is from an old Rosicrucian manual, Code of Life number 15. As you give, so shall you receive. As each opportunity to give is seized upon with the utmost impulsiveness, so will future blessings, sought or required, be granted to you by the cosmic. The greater the impulsiveness, with little thought as to personal sacrifice, the greater will be the compensation credited in the cosmic. These words remind us that we live in this world, and as a part of it, giving comes in all forms. Money is a part of our world and our way of life, and it is necessary for us and for our society to run. It is therefore a wonderful way for you to practice the law of AMRA. We learn from our monographs and from everyday life that money and the luxuries of life are a part of the cosmic. And as long as we keep them in perspective, share them, and make the world better with them, then an abundance can manifest for us. Living within the law of AMRA, we will recognize our responsibilities to human evolution and must always heed that responsibility to better humanity. This slide also talks about the giving and receiving of blessings, and this can take on many forms. Giving takes practice. Be patient with yourself. Your ego will battle with you when you attempt to give freely and namelessly. It will want recognition and praise. Give namelessly anyway. There will be urges to think about the law of AMRA when you give, wondering what you might get in return and when and how. To move past this battle, simply begin the process. Start giving quietly right now. With practice, you will learn the art of giving. When you have an urge to assist someone or some situation in any way, follow that urge anonymously when possible. State to yourself, if it be the will of the cosmic, then let this go forth and do great good. Then, with the only reward a satisfied heart, move on. This can be used for any form of giving, whether it be money, clothing, or simply sharing a smile and a helping hand to someone in need. Let us pause now for a moment and mentally practice. In your mind's eye, think of someone or a situation that is in need. Imagine that you have found a way to assist and/or fulfill this need. A real situation may come to mind. If so, practice in your mind how you will follow through with your giving. Perform your assistance and in your mind state, if it be the will of the cosmic, then let this go forth and do great good. Then feel the result in your heart and move on. Let us perform this exercise now. Thank you, fratres and sorors. Learning to give is a very important lesson of life. and it is a learned lesson. As stated, it takes practice. If you truly want to help someone, allow the cosmic to direct you. We all know that sometimes the best way to give assistance to someone is to allow them to learn something on their own. We may be tempted at times to help someone out of a situation that would be best for them to do themselves. Thus the statement, if it be the will of the cosmic, can be your arm to lean upon. It can help guide you in your understanding of situations. Best wishes to all of you as you put this principle into practice in your lives. As you receive, so shall you give. This is from the old Rosicrucian manual and the section of the Rosicrucian dictionary within that. AMRA. If you petition for special help and your petition is answered, you are obliged by the law of AMRA to make compensation by passing along to others some portion of the blessing you have received. So we now get into a cycle of giving and receiving. In our daily lives, it is natural for us to take things for granted. Of course, the current pandemic has given many of us pause. But a paycheck, food, being with our loved ones, all are blessings that we have received. Even life itself and the privilege of consciousness each day is a blessing received. You are a world full of gifts. They come to you constantly. And just like we spoke about recognizing the language of nature, perhaps we can also change our mindset and recognize the language of the gift of life that we are privileged to experience, the greatest privilege we could possibly have. This one statement, as you receive, so shall you give, can fill your life with gratitude. You can see life and all things with gratitude, and you will thus be giving gratitude back into the world. You will change the world in which you live for the better. Let us think now about all of those gifts that have come to us and give thanks for them. You will receive so much from this exercise, and it is one you should do often. So close your eyes now if you wish, and think about the varied gifts that come to you. While contemplating, relax and enjoy these couple of moments. Let your breath and vital life force enter and simply be. If any strained thoughts come to you, recognize them and simply go back to enjoying the gift of your breath freely given to you in and out. Thank you, fratres and sorors. While we were meditating just now, it took me back to a time when our Grand Master many years ago actually gave a presentation. And during that presentation, she had us all sit in silence. And it was a great experiment because we did nothing. Now, it seemed like it was half an hour. It may have only been 10 minutes, but there was no music. And we were implored to go within. And it was amazing how the mind played tricks on us, at least on me. All kinds of thoughts start coming in. Wow, it's been so long. Is the Grand Master okay? Different things come into your mind. And that was a great experience because it teaches us to learn to be silent, to pay attention to that holy breath that is always there for us, given freely. It was a wonderful experience, and this particular meditation brought that memory back. So thanks again, Grandmaster Julie. You were very brave to do that, by the way. As mystics, we recognize that there are universal laws that operate without our knowledge to maintain being's continuing effort to be. It is like they are a part of a vast universal autonomic system that keeps our cosmos alive, breathing, moving, and changing. In this presentation, we have examined the various levels of functioning of the Law of AMRA. Thus, we can recognize that laws exist beyond our thought, and we have found that laws are necessary for the structure of our evolution on all planes. This recognition of the necessity of structure in order for humanity to progress has led us to create our own set of laws on the objective plane. As humanity progresses through its experience, we have created the boundaries of society and economics in a variety of forms throughout the world. We have man-made laws designed to bring safety, rules of conduct, and order into society, as well as to remove destructive elements within the populace and so forth. This is our attempt to bring fair play into business, civil, and social dealings. We have put forth efforts to create a blind justice system. Of course, human-made laws are imperfect, and though we often fail in our attempts for fairness or justice, we obviously continue our efforts to make our laws and our structure better. We are guided to do better. In other words, within society, we see evolution towards mastery at work. We are all co-creators of these structures, whether we are a lawyer or a judge or a citizen working within the boundaries set forth. Even those who feel they've been wrongly judged within this system strive as a mystic to send spiritual direction towards that which we have established, that the evolution of our human efforts will continue upwards towards a higher understanding and functioning on the objective plane. In this way, you are participating in the Law of AMRA within society. Each of us creates self-imposed rules or laws that are personal for us. These are those practices and disciplines, or lack thereof, we evolve in our lives that we feel we need to do. These are also necessary, excuse me, and they differ for everyone. They are important as they help us to achieve the balance in life that we seek. It may be that you are a morning person, arising early and performing certain things best done in the morning for you. Perhaps you find specific times to meditate to best help with your stress levels. Perhaps you eat organic food or have strict exercise regimens and so forth. All of us here today have embarked upon a path of mystical work which requires a certain effort and discipline. Self-imposed laws require an introspection to learn about ourselves, and they require that we continually adjust and learn from what our body, mind, environment, and heart are telling us. Self-imposed laws, then, are in a constant motion of change as we change throughout the years and experiences of our lives. The law of AMRA is always at work in this realm. You are giving of yourself through your learned knowledge of what is good for you, and you are receiving benefits from that practice. Recognize that you can harness the power of AMRA through your own sincerity and discipline. You can establish your own set of principles that follow this law to guide yourself towards a more fulfilling, healthy, giving, and receiving way of life. We also have laws of nature that all of us must abide by while we are incarnate, as they apply in many ways with our interaction with this world. We plan and design things around these laws to flow with them, to make life better, and in some cases, in order to defy them. Flying is an example of our human co-creativity. We recognize that as human beings, we cannot fly. Nature shows us our bodies are not designed to overcome the laws of gravity. But we discovered other aerodynamic natural laws that allow us to build a craft that can overcome the law of gravity. The spiritual law of AMRA is at work here as well, through us. We consciously recognize the natural laws put before us, and we utilize those laws for co-creation. Guiding the man-made laws, the self-imposed laws, and the natural laws we see around us are the universal and spiritual laws that govern the universe. And this slide says, each day that we are privileged to awaken, we further humanity's conscious understanding through our link to all things. We live in cosmic consciousness threaded to each other and to all things that exist. Every thought and action creates a current on these threads, and that vibratory current is felt everywhere. This slide further quotes the Kabbalion and the 7 Hermetic laws, remembering that that first Hermetic law is that the universe is mental. So the universe exists by virtue of these laws, which harmoniously and unwaveringly govern everything and everyone in it. So we cannot escape the law of AMRA. It is always here. It is always with us. We are always connected. It is not something that you try to evoke when you have a material need or some other situation. It is already at work, even now, at this very moment. We simply need to attune to its presence.